Hey there, Bear Club! At the Mama Bear Initiative, we explore how to protect ourselves so we can protect our cubs, the people who depend on us. Join us and get the confidence you need to stay safe, make good choices, and protect yourself and those you care about. Let's go!
That was my computer. Hello and welcome to the Mamaru Initiative. Oh wait, no. Wrong.
Wait, who are we? I don't even why we had that lever.
The Mama Bear Initiative podcast. Hello and welcome.
Yes, welcome.
Let's welcome everybody.
We are restarting our podcast in an attempt to redo, maybe make it interesting enough to get an audience. Who knows?
That would be nice.
Ooh, what a thought.
Yeah. So we're doing our second practice. The first one didn't quite go that well.
Yeah.
We were not in the right mood.
No,
No.
we were not.
Not enough silly.
No. So so Evelyn and I were talking. I'm working on developing habits because I have PTSD and I struggle to develop habits long term.
Yes.
Especially when there's a lot like going on emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
And I live with pretty much constant anxiety,
Mhm.
so there's always something going on.
Yes.
There's always something going on emotionally in my head. Yeah, so there's always something getting in the way. And
There we are.
I think my blood sugars are doing fine with the medications I'm on. However, I just gained like 6 pounds in a week, or at least 2 weeks or something. That's ridiculous. But I know this because I've been overeating. So I was talking to my therapist today about this idea I had for a strategy to take the amount of food that I would normally take and then put some of it back. And not for everything. Like, obviously, a spinach salad.
Yeah.
I'm not going to put half of that back.
Right.
I mean, unless you're eating the entire bag and the bag is a 5-pound bag. But yes,
My current favorite candy. Yeah.
that says spinach, right?
No.
Mini spinach,
candy.
No. God, no. Ooh. Anyway, I like this candy, and it's once I get going, it's really hard to stop. And my biggest like food addiction / because I have a binging problem that I've had all my life, basically. And I made some progress a few years ago with at least being cognizant of what I was doing with my eating habits. So that was progress, but I'm still like, I've been very stressed since November, and I'm finding myself. So if I decide to grab the bag of Cadbury eggs, first of all, I'm not going to shame myself for it.
Good.
I might
good.
pour 5 or 6 in my hand, but the idea is to put some of it back. I'm not giving myself a quantity.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not going to eat 5 or 6
Right.
of these eggs. And like I was telling Evelyn, I might grab the bag 5 times in a period of time and pour 5 or 6 in my hand, but I'm also going to make the effort to put some back, because the idea is I'm holding some space for changing my habits, even if I'm not completely changing my habit right now, because that has always been hugely detrimental to my mental health. To try to come in and like, I'm going on a diet, I'm gonna change my food habits today.
Get those arms.
Like, that has never worked, and it creates more stress, and then I end up binging more and feeling shame and guilt on top of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Totally relatable.
I'm right now in this season of my life setting aside some things. I had a couple things I wanted to start that I'm not starting yet. I'm not getting rid of it entirely. I set aside one of the 2 martial arts I was learning. I've setting aside my job at the church in the sound booth for now. After I do my last stint, beginning of April, because there's several important things I need to keep a hold of,
Mhm.
and I need to be here, like Dojo Cho.
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to run that dojo if not me?
Right. That's true.
You're the one.
I'm the one. So I have to find the emotional energy to do it, and if it's being sucked out by other things, which is stressing me out to the point where I'm grabbing this bag
Uh-huh.
5 times in 15 minutes to eat probably 30 of those in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
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 And
Yeah.
I'm not going to stop myself necessarily from grabbing the bag 5 times, but I am going to develop a habit of cutting back
Mm-hmm.
on how much I'm eating at any given time to hopefully at some point start to be able to make the decision to just not have it at all.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe have it less times
Mhm.
in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to stress myself out to the point where I'm just going to gain 30 pounds to be back where I was before my hernia surgery.
Right.
Yeah. I like the way you're being mindful about it. I was thinking for so many of us, if we do have this where we just start eating and just eat, we're not really paying attention.
Right.
But it sounds like your method is, you're very aware of when you pick it up. You're thinking about that you're pouring it in your hand.
Mhm.
You're thinking about putting some back. So it becomes, you're more in charge.
I'm trying to be aware.
Okay, so we're on the
We don't
path.
always succeed, but we try.
Not quite to full awareness yet. That's part of the problem.
Yeah.
Is not having full awareness
Mhm.
of what
Yeah.
I'm doing. Because I told my therapist today, I said, I didn't even realize I was in a binge. I knew I was overeating
Mhm.
because when Evelyn and I had Chipotle burritos the other night, I literally had this giant burrito in my hand and I'm halfway through it and I'm like, I'm already full. I'm going to eat the whole thing. Like I consciously made the choice to do that, but I
Mhm.
made the choice to do that because I'm stressed
Right.
Yeah.
right now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I want to become more aware. So taking the time to go, oh look, I have 5 or 6 in my
Pass them
hand.
over here. Pass them over here.
Pass them over
I'm
here.
gonna put back, now I'll have these 3, right?
Mhm.
That's part of, for me at least, developing the awareness
Yeah.
that I need to have before I can get to making better decisions. Because I want long-term success.
Right.
That's what I'm looking
Yeah.
for.
Yeah.
I've been heavyweight all my life, all my adult life. I was pretty thin at 19. I got heavier started in my mid-20s, and it just kind of kept going.
Yeah.
And then at COVID, I ballooned up to over 300 pounds because the stress of COVID I was just sad and upset and like missing everyone. I didn't see Evelyn for like 2 months.
Yeah. Except online. Yeah.
Except online.
It was awful.
Yeah. So I got up over 300 pounds and then I got the diverticulitis and then I got the surgery and then I got the hernia.
Yeah, it's just one thing
Yeah,
after another.
One thing after another.
A year.
Woo, woo, woo.
Yes, and no abscess this time. And we celebrate.
The doctor made sure that A, I'd lost weight, and B, that my blood sugars were under control, so none of that would happen. So my success rate in healing was pretty good because I got my A1C down to below where he wanted it.
That's good.
Yeah.
And my doctor is really great. She's been working with me on finding a combination of medications to keep my blood sugars down. So I don't have to go to insulin yet. But part of my problem is this binging. And I've told her about the binging. Like, this is a problem. I'm in therapy. I'm working on it. I'm struggling. She suggested, I think, Suboxone as a way to manage the sugar desires. But I mentioned that to my therapist today, and he said, that's a little bit off label. I'm not sure. He says, as a matter of fact, he used to work with people who who were heroin addicts
Mm.
and took Suboxone, and he
Oh.
said they would end up binging on sugar.
Yeah. Yep. I've heard that's very
on
common.
Suboxone, and they would get down to the last milligram when they were weaning off and couldn't get off of it because they were afraid to not have it.
Mm-hmm.
So that was enough for me to go, I don't know if that's what I want.
Yeah. Not long term,
I don't
at
want to
least.
make it
I think
worse.
I'd rather try this strategy of putting some back every time I take something.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Not everything. Like, obviously, like the dinner Rochelle made tonight didn't have much carbs in it, so I didn't feel too bad about eating. It was high fat, but it wasn't
High carb.
high carbs.
Very protein rich,
So,
too, which helps.
very protein rich. So I didn't feel bad about that.
Yeah.
I took what would be a good amount. Now, eventually, I think I'll have to cut back on calories. So I might need to use that strategy on a high fat dinner like tonight's,
Mhm.
which was chicken Devon. I might need to put a little bit back to cut my portion down, but I have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
That's where I'm starting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I maybe 2 months before Christmas, I didn't really give it much thought. I just stopped eating sugar. I think it was mostly out of feeling awful all the time. And my body was just hurting constantly, and it was causing me so many problems. So I just stopped eating so much sugar. But it wasn't a conscious decision. It just sort of happened. And then Christmas, the day after Christmas, it became very clear to me that, man, sugar really does mess you up if you eat too much of it. I was in so much pain the next day after Christmas. It was insane. I was working all day, so exhausted, felt terrible because we had so much candy and we had cinnamon rolls, orange juice, all kinds of things I wouldn't normally eat all in one day.
And pizza.
So all these,
Homemade pizza.
yeah, which is great,
That's
but
good
all
pizza.
that carb and sugar stuff was crazy.
We don't normally eat like
No,
that.
we don't.
No.
And now
We do cook our dinners here.
Yep. And now, like, today's a good example. My friend Chris, he wanted to buy me a cookie, and these cookies are like this. And they're like 400 calories by themselves, and they're very heavy with sugar, of course. So he's like, so he's aware of what I'm trying to do. And he said, so do you want something? I'm like, if you want to get me something, just get me a small Twix, the regular size Twix. That'll be fine.
So you haven't cut sugar out entirely.
No.
You've just cut way back.
I don't want to cut sugar out because I don't want to be sad. That's what you cut sugar out.
We can't have a sad bun. That would be like the universe would implode.
And the show jumping would be very anticlimactic.
Yeah.
Funny show jumping.
The people who cut out sugar are usually pretty sad, in my experience. They'll tell you how great it is, but they don't seem very happy.
This has to be more perky and happy. It can't be like.
At any rate, I can relate to what Steph's saying because I've had the same problem, same struggle with food. I've been overweight most of my adult life. Same scenario. Mid-20s, started gaining weight. And it's been really has impacted my health. I've had congestive heart failure, which I have mostly recovered from, thankfully. High blood pressure, all sorts of problems. But the shift, like, it's really tough some days. Today was really tough. I really wanted to eat more sugar. Like, I wanted to do something else. But I wouldn't I would want to deviate from what I've been doing because it was a very tiresome, very stressful day. And people were offering me food. And I'm like, no, that's okay. If you really want to get me something, Twix is fine. It wasn't a giant cookie. And I really wanted a donut. And I don't even really like donuts that much. They're always too sweet to me. That sounds weird. Anyways.
I love donuts.
So I got.
I can't eat donuts though because they usually have corn syrup in them unless it's a one of those apple cider donuts.
Yeah, those
from
are really
the
good.
Orchard.
Yeah.
I want to learn how to make those this year, girls.
Anyways, I walked away from the donut case and I was so frustrated with it. I'm like, man, eating less sugar really sucks sometimes. But that little victory was worth it, even though I really wanted a donut.
Yeah.
Which I really don't even eat donuts that often.
Yeah. I love donut. My favorite donut is from Dunkin' Donuts. It's called the Manager's Special. It's got that white cream inside and chocolate
Yeah, that's a good one.
on the top. So it's like a filled donut. Oh, but unfortunately,
Corn syrup.
it has corn syrup or cornstarch or whatever in it, and I just can't.
Yeah.
Oh man.
That's my other issue. There's so many things I can't
Yeah,
have
because you have corn syrup problem or corn problem.
because I cannot eat corn, anything, and I'll get sick if I do. I'm not technically allergic, according to the allergist, but I do get sick.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I find something like this,
Yeah, and you're like happy.
and I'm like, ooh, chocolate. Now these are royal dark, so it's a little less sugar.
Mm-hmm.
But if I find something like that, I kind of hoard it. It's mine.
Understandable.
Yeah, and I feel a sense of entitlement, I guess.
Isn't it interesting, the emotions we have around food and
Mhm.
treats and things? It's definitely a thing.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I know
it's
for
definitely
me,
a thing.
yeah, it's not, I mean, well, I've definitely gained a little weight, especially around the middle. I pulled out some pants. So when I first started my sitting down at the desk all day job, prior to that, I was always moving and stuff. I even did a little bit of personal training and, weightlifting and whatnot. But so I had this pair of dress pants through the spring, summer. I pulled them out this year and I was like, oh, okay, these are a little tight. Better set those aside. But my thing has been trying to stay in shape, like trying to exercise and make that a regular thing, especially with my lung condition. I really have to work on having, basically increasing my lung capacity. And I can be kind of lazy when it comes to stuff like that. I'm like, I don't have time for this. Except, here's the thing. I didn't like the way it felt to not be in shape.
Mm-hmm.
If you get winded walking up a couple flights of stairs, I'm like, I can't keep this up. I'm in my 50s. It's not going to get any better.
Right.
No.
So, but I was like, well, I don't have time. And then I thought, well, how much really I do have time. I just, how much time? Okay, if I could do like 15 minutes in the morning, I could do 15 minutes. Well, my supervisor at work happened to mention this lady on the intertubes who it's the YouTubean situation called Fabulous 50s. And she's like from Australia. She's like perky, but not too perky. And she's like encouraging, kind of happy. And when you get to the end of these short videos, they're like 5 to 15 minutes. 5-minute ones are basically just a stretch. But you get to the end and she's literally jumping up and down and says, yay, across the screen. And I'm like, yay, I did my 15 minutes. And
that sounds like your version of holding space for making a change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if it's just a 5 to 10 minute workout, it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can always increase it.
Yeah. And
I actually have been with, so I was already doing regular stretching because stretching, I hurt if I don't stretch.
Mm-hmm.
So then I added this on top of it. And then believe it or not, I'm actually getting up. I set my alarm for 10 minutes earlier and it's working. Now, some mornings, not all the time, I know. Rochelle, get on this. Now,
what?
I will tell you.
5 to 10 minutes earlier is working?
What?
Now, sort of like with you, though, Steph, it's not every day. Sometimes I'm like, hit the snooze. I don't have time for that.
I never hit the snooze.
I don't either. I'm not a snooze person.
I usually don't, to be honest, but if I've had a rough night, anyway, no explaining. But I usually just force myself out of bed and then it's worth it. I mean, just kind of, the thing is to not go, oh, I got 10 extra minutes and slow down, which I could do if I'm not thinking. It's kind of like just mindlessly eating. I'll waste time.
Hey, let me say this. Maybe this will be an encouragement to you. If you're trying to make a change and let's say you set an alarm for 10 minutes earlier than you would normally get up and the alarm goes off and you're thinking about getting up and doing exercise, even if you don't,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's still progress because you're thinking about it.
Yeah, that's true. Good point.
And if you keep thinking, allowing yourself, if this is the whole idea of holding space for something,
Mm-hmm.
it may start just with thinking about it. It may start with, okay, I want to make this change. I'm setting my alarm. I'm not getting out of bed, but I am thinking about it these 10 minutes that I want to get up and do exercise.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like our expectation of ourselves and of each other is this weird idea that we're just going to flip a switch and now do it perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's just not reality.
It's not reality. But if
Yeah.
you are allowing, I mean, even if you're not getting out of bed, if you're thinking about the exercise that you might have done if you had gotten out of bed, that's something in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're
Yeah.
still waking up at the time you'd be doing it. If you create that habit, then the next step would be getting out of bed to do it. That would be the next.
Yeah. Even if you get out of bed and just stand there for 10 minutes,
Yeah, it's progress.
it's progress.
Oh, I got to tell you, I actually, because my body's sassy, I set my alarm and then I woke up like 10 minutes earlier than
Okay.
that.
You're Gen X.
Yeah.
You're in your which makes you in your mid-50s. Of course your body's sassy.
Yeah. That's the definition of being a Gen X.
Oh,
You're sassy.
Excuse me while I think the obvious.
Okay. Your excuse.
But so I was awake. I looked at my alarm and I went, really? And I thought, well, I'm wide awake. Might as well get up. So even that, then I had a whole lot of time. Did I get out the door as soon as I wanted to? Well, actually, no. Did I exercise though? Yes, I did.
Hey, as a martial arts instructor, what I try to tell people is progress isn't linear and it's not this
Right.
smooth upward trend on a graph.
That's true.
Where, time and effort. People think that it's going to be like this.
Perfect square.
It doesn't happen.
Yeah. It just,
It's,
yeah. I can attest to that. I'm currently trying to learn how to do rolls, and as you guys know, and it's been this very.
It looks like that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's define what you mean by rolls. We're not talking because we've been talking about food.
Cinnamon rolls.
We're not talking about cinnamon rolls.
Dinner rolls.
Dinner
Bun
rolls.
Okay.
What are we talking about? What do you mean by rolls?
Yes. Clarify for us. While I sip the tea.
Give us the tea, Rochelle, as the Gen Zers would say.
We're talking about.
Go for it.
My gosh. I can't get a word in. That's really two knuckleheads.
Have a non-Pharrell.
Anyway,
the candy we can't eat. Rochelle, you were saying?
You were saying?
I don't even know anymore.
You're defining what you mean by a roll.
Yes, tell us what a roll is. The non-edible variety.
I cannot with you two. Anyways, a roll is a technique where you roll over your shoulder, either backwards or forwards. I don't know, and sideways as well. And I'm currently I've been trying to learn them for about 2 years, maybe longer. And it's definitely been a very difficult up and down, circular, all the way around process. It's not linear for sure, because I can do well one day and not do so great the next. I'm trying to get to the point where my forward rolls are consistent and I can just do the backwards rolls and figuring out the sideways ones as well.
Yeah, I'd say as your sensei, they're getting more consistent, but I think that's mainly due to your persistence.
I should say. And I really agree with you about the habit forming thing, because I've been trying to systematically, because I have terrible executive function as well, and trying to systematically do things to create space for new habits. And that wasn't even like something I thought of. It's just thought, well, if I do this way, maybe this will happen eventually. Like meeting with a trainer, he's talking to me about my eating habits, about, are you doing things at home? And I'm like, well, I'm not doing exercise at home right now because my schedule is so packed, but I am trying to figure out where I can fit it in. As far as eating goes, I am systematically making changes, like you've been talking about, Stephanie, small incremental changes over time. And I've had a lot of success with that. And in my mind, I'm the least likely person to be able to have any success with that sort of thing, because I was such a terrible binge eater, sugar addict for a long, long time. And I started listening to these guys on TikTok and all the social media places who had the same sort of attitude about food, where they said that as long as you're not allergic to it, it's not rotten, there's no bad food. That changed my perspective about everything in terms of food. And then I kept listening to what they were saying. It just made so much sense. I did not expect it to have that as much of an effect on me as it's had. I credit that with the good bit of why I changed.
Because going back to my bag of Cadbury mini eggs here.
Is this product placement? I just want to know if you made some sort of contract with the Cadbury people.
Sorry.
Oh, we're not going to get any kickbacks from the Cadbury people?
No. Sorry. But this is delicious food. And it carries a lot of guilt with it when you look at it as bad.
Mm-hmm.
Bad. Mm-hmm.
I oh God, I shouldn't eat this. This is terrible because it makes me fat and I can't control myself. And I need to change my food habits, and I just can't stop myself from eating 30 Cadbury eggs in 15 minutes and take the bad out of it. It's not bad. It's not bad food. It's not a food you want to eat as like a regular diet thing.
Right.
Wait, what? It's
you don't want to make your meal. You know what?
Come on now.
Eggs are so darn expensive, and I confirm even at the BJ's.
The BJ's.
Our usual.
The BJ's.
I know the eggs there. The ones we normally got, the 2 packs of 18s, is like what, 36 eggs?
Yeah.
Was $20. It used to be 2 to 3. These are inexpensive eggs.
You know what's really weird? Anyway, the quick little side trip at my job, they're still only $4.49 for a dozen, which is weird because you think at a convenience store.
If you live near a Wawa, go get eggs there.
Really
I'm going to the Wawas. Be right back.
I mean, people are buying us out of eggs because they're $4.49 for a dozen still, which is crazy.
Crazy. I mean, I see the jokes on the Facebook and the
people dealing in eggs.
and I saw one where somebody got a tattoo and they're like, "How are you going to pay in cash?" And she pulls 3 eggs out and hands them to the tattoo artist, and the tattoo artist's like, "Ooh, funny. Put them in my carton." I'm like,
that's hilarious.
Wow. Anyway, back to this. This isn't bad food. This is fun.
Yeah.
Delicious. It's just I have a hard time controlling how much of that I eat at any given time, but not because it's bad.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, I was making dinner and I had a bowl of the cheese and the panko I'd put on top. I'm sitting there eating it and wanted to eat the entire thing. Like, it's ridiculous sometimes. The things we want are crazy. Like, it didn't make sense to me. It's not something I normally sit there and want to eat. But I want to sit there and eat I kept going, like, taking a little pinch. I'm like, I gotta stop doing this. This is for dinner.
Kind of like I do with the French fried onions.
Yes, pretty much.
Kept eating them out of the bag.
One thing that a TikTok or whatever dietitian said that made sense, she said she's defined it as foods are less nutrient dense. She doesn't call them good or bad. And she's basically talking about, like you're saying, Steph, the majority of your diet should be this, but you can have some of this, the less nutrient dense foods, but that doesn't make them bad. And that's the switch that helped my brain wrap my brain around the idea that there's no bad food. And if you're not,
And I don't want to get caught up. Now, this is not slamming any 12-step programs because I work for people.
Yeah.
But I don't want to get caught up in this idea that I'm an addict.
Right.
Even though I have an addiction problem. I don't like labeling myself in that way because I feel as though, now it may be different with drugs. I've never been on drugs, so I have no idea what that's like. I've never been much of a drinker.
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't know the physical cravings for that. The only one I know about is sugar and food. But I just can't get in line for myself with this idea that I'm an addict and therefore stuck that way the rest of my life.
Yeah.
But I also understand that I need to control my behavior.
Yeah. It's
That's
not,
really the
yeah,
key.
it's not an identity. It's a behavior. Yeah.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah. So, any last thoughts on this topic? Because we're almost at 30 minutes.
Oh my goodness, that went by fast.
I know.
Like we've been talking about, I think people just need to give themselves a break and not be so down on themselves about their struggles, because it's a lifelong battle to overcome things like this. You can't do it in a day. You can't even do it in an entire year. You have to take your time and figure it out,
Yeah.
especially if you
Yeah,
have
and
trauma.
and let changes be, if you can't go cold turkey on something, let changes be incremental.
Yes.
Yeah. And over time, you'll get where you need to be, even if it kind of looks like this. The squiggles are sort of going in a general upward direction.
Mhm.
Yeah, because it's sort of like this.
Yeah.
Eventually you're
Mhm.
making progress upwards. That, I mean, I've seen so many charts, joke charts
Yeah.
Mhm.
about that specific thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That you know, like one was a squirrel
One was a squirrel. That's
going
fun.
like this, you know. But I think that's truly what it's like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
you know.
And I think letting it be a one day at a time thing, and also celebrating like when you do get it right.
Yeah.
So and being full of grace when you don't.
Yeah.
Right, because messing up isn't the end of the world.
Right.
Keep
Okay,
telling my
big sister
big sis in the house, guys.
is telling you failure's not fatal.
Mhm.
Messing up is not the end of the world. It's okay if you don't get it right, exactly right. What matters is that you get back up and try again and keep trying until you shove that needle up a little further in the right direction and just keep going. Because one day you'll be looking back at where, like Rochelle and her roles, you'll be looking back and going, somehow I made it here.
Yeah. That's true.
Because we're talking about Rochelle testing. Like, Rochelle, we're going to be having a conversation tomorrow
Yes.
about scheduling a pre-test and a test for
Hi,
you.
Sensei.
Is this the sensei megaphone?
Side conversation on the podcast here.
I temporarily put on my imaginary OB that I wear when I have to say things in sensei mode.
Hi, sensei.
It's off now.
Okay.
It's off
Oh,
now.
thank God.
But yeah, but the point is, you know, like Rochelle's struggled for a couple of years to get to this point,
Mhm.
but she's been slowly moving the needle in the right direction to the
Mhm.
point where now I feel good, even though she's my sister. I still have to treat her like
Yeah,
everyone else.
and she
Yep.
does. She definitely does.
Yep.
No
And
favoritism.
not give in to wanting to make it better for you
Right.
by letting you test when I know you're not ready.
Right.
But now I feel better about the whole thing and like you're ready to go.
Mhm.
Ready to pre-test probably in April and test potentially in May. Have to see where all the other stuff is because you work so hard on the roles.
Yes, that's true. Hi, Sensei.
You know, you could have been like neglecting the other stuff,
Yeah.
but that's neither here nor there. The point is that you are able to make progress regardless of how difficult what you're doing is if you just don't give up on the whole concept. You don't have to sit and then adjust and adjust and adjust and adjust.
And the
Little
Keep
tweaks.
adjusting.
the adjusted part is the hardest part, but as long as you're, like Stephanie's saying, as long as you're inching forward, you're still making progress.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard,
Yeah.
but it's worth doing if you really want to accomplish something that you've been struggling with for a long time.
Plus, if you're adjusting, you're getting that much closer to being where you need to be. That's what I tell myself when sensei is correcting me. I'm like, this is good because that means if I do this, I'm going to do better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I'd rather just get it offhand. None of us do.
When Sensei is correcting you for the 500th time on the same thing.
That's a little
I
different.
say,
I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about me.
oh no, I've experienced that though. It's like, haven't I told you? Hi, sensei.
We've been over this, haven't we?
Let me write. Let me do something different. I'm sick of this. Oh yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. If you are watching this,
And you made it this far.
and you made it this far, we appreciate you
Yeah.
listening to our podcast. We're trying to make a difference in helping people change how they do things. Share it with other people if you found this helpful. Share it with someone that you care about, and share it on the Facebooks, the Instagrams, the TikToks of the world, whatever platforms you're on, the LinkedIns. I'm not a fan of that one, but here we are.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like you said it all, Steph.
All right.
Like, and I'm out of words.
You out of words.
I find that hard to believe.
It's
Hell
momentary.
would freeze over before you ran out of words.
Sometimes there's a gap. Word gap.
It's extremely small.
Mm-hmm. Very small.
Like grotesque.
The audacity! How are you not in Paris?
Oh my gosh.
All right.
Bye, everyone.
Everybody.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Thanks so much for joining us as we discussed such an important topic. We hope you got some food for thought and encouragement to keep going and keep growing. See you later, Bear Club.